Welcome to the Lessons for Living television program. My name is Bill Santos. Thank you so much for watching. On today's program, I'm going to deal with a problem that I freely admit that I have, and I'm absolutely convinced that everyone has this problem to one degree or another. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I have a problem with procrastination. And starting tomorrow, I'm going to do something about it. The truth of the matter is everybody has at least one thing that they haven't yet done in your life. And the only reason why it's not been done, it's simply because we've procrastinated. I heard about two neighbors that were talking across their backyard fence one afternoon. And one said to the other, "John, you know, there's nothing like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, doing 100 sit-ups, 200 push-ups, 100 chin-ups, taking a 5K run, and then having a nice cold shower before breakfast." The other neighbor said, "Good grief, how long have you been doing that for?" The other one said, "I start tomorrow." Now, some unknown poet described the problem this way: "I spent a fortune on a trampoline, a stationary bike, and a rowing machine, complete with gadgets to read my pulse and gadgets to prove my progress results, and others to show the miles I've charted, but they left off the gadget to get me started." Now, many people have the philosophy, ready, aim, aim, aim. They aim to do this or they aim to do that, but they just never get around to it. Someone has defined a procrastinator as someone who puts off until tomorrow the things that he has already put off until today. The wisest man who ever lived, a man named Solomon, gives us the perfect antidote to procrastination. Believe it or not, he says the best way to overcome procrastination is to take a trip out to an anthill. That's right, an anthill. He said an anthill can tell us exactly how to overcome procrastination. Proverbs chapter 6, beginning at verse 6, look at what it says. "Go to the ant, you lazy one, observe its ways and be wise, which having no chief officer or ruler prepares its food in the summer and gathers its provisions in the harvest. How long will you lie down, you lazy one? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest? Then your poverty will come in like a drifter, and your need like an armed man." We're going to learn a valuable lesson from a little animal called the ant today that will help us overcome the problem of procrastination. And it is a real problem. There are people that have lost good jobs because of procrastination. There are people whose marriages have gone down the tubes because of procrastination. And there are people who die without God because of procrastination. It is time, perhaps, for us to declare our emancipation procrastination, because we're going to learn this from the ant today. Here's a key takeaway. Never substitute today's certain opportunity for tomorrow's uncertain possibility. Now, before I tell you how to do that, let's look at the why of procrastination. I want you to think right now of one thing that you know you should have done a long time ago, but you've never gotten around to it. Then ask yourself this question: why have I put it off? There are several reasons why we procrastinate. Sometimes we simply just cannot make a decision. Indecision can cause us to procrastinate. many times we simply have a hard time making a decision. We get into the paralysis of analysis until we get to the point that we analyze something for so long that we just finally give up on trying to make a decision at all. Now, the first cousin of this is fear. In fact, this may in fact be the greatest reason why we procrastinate. We are afraid of what might happen. You know, what will happen if I take the action? We're afraid that we might fail. We're afraid that the worst possible thing could happen will happen. You don't confront that person at work. You don't make that difficult phone call. Or you don't go to the doctor even though you know physically something is wrong because you are afraid of what you might find out. Well, another reason why we procrastinate is because we keep looking for the right time and the right moment and the right opportunity. In other words, we want everything to be just perfect. Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 4 says, "One who watches the wind will not sow, one who looks at the clouds will not harvest." You know, there are people who put off getting married or put off having a child because they just don't see how they can financially make it. So be honest with yourself and ask yourself this question: what is it about taking this action that I'm afraid of? What logical reason is there to continue to put off doing something about this particular issue? Now, of course, another reason why we procrastinate is simply sheer laziness. Solomon is talking to the lazy person there in Proverbs 6. You know, he's saying, study the ant, learn how to overcome procrastination. I've learned that the first step to dealing with a problem is you have to get to the root cause of the problem. And when you know that you would never substitute today's certain opportunity for tomorrow's uncertain possibility, you have to find out why you would gamble what you can do today for what you may or may not be able to do tomorrow. Calculate the cost of procrastination. Anytime you put off until tomorrow what you could do today and what you should do today, there's always a cost. There's always a price tag. Well, first of all, you miss an opportunity to get the job done today. And if you miss an opportunity to get something done today, it may mean that you never, ever get a chance to do it tomorrow. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 16, look at what it says. Take advantage of every opportunity because these are evil times. Now, don't miss the word here, every. Every opportunity. Opportunity doesn't always knock. Opportunity doesn't knock very often. Every time opportunity does knock, well, we had better make sure that we're ready to open the door today. Another cost of procrastination is that it steals time. You see, when we procrastinate, it lulls our mind into thinking that tomorrow is going to be better than today. You begin to think that today is not necessarily the best time, and tomorrow is always a better time. And if you think about it, that cannot possibly be true. When you put off doing something until tomorrow, you lose today. Procrastination is not only the thief of time, it's the grave of opportunity. Did you know that the best time for a person to become a follower of Christ who has never become a follower of Christ is right now? See, the reason why a person should become a follower of Christ today is not just because they may not have tomorrow, though indeed they may not. The reason why a person ought to become a follower of Christ right now, today, is so that they can serve God both today and tomorrow. We have all heard the tragic story of someone who procrastinated going to the doctor only to wind up going too late. The truth of the matter is procrastination never solves anything. It only makes things worse. The longer you wait, the harder something gets. Waiting never makes it easier. Now, how do you get beyond procrastination? Well, commit to overcome it. As we go to the ant and we study the ant's ways, we learn that the ant takes 3 simple steps and never has a problem with procrastination. If we take these simple steps, we will never again substitute today's certain opportunity for tomorrow's uncertain possibility. Here are the 3. Number 1, just do it. Go to the ant, you lazy one. Observe its ways and be wise, which having no chief, officer, or ruler, prepares its food in the summer, gathers its provision in the harvest. That's Proverbs 6, verses 6 to 8. The ant is a master self-starter. The ant has no boss, no supervisor, no one nagging it to get its job done. It just gets up, gets at it, and gets to work. They get the essentials done first. They know instinctively that winter is coming. So they start storing food in the summer. So the first thing you need to do to get started is just do it. In other words, start right now. Not next month, not next week, not even tomorrow. Start right now. If you could only work on your problem or begin this project or start this process for 5 minutes today, then give it 5 minutes today. You know, you've been saying, I'll do it someday. Well, someday is today. You'll say, I'll do it when I get around to it. Well, you just did. You know, Nike has the slogan that we all know, just 3 simple words, just do it.